Hello YouTube, I'm Charles with Charles Acrylics. Please subscribe, like, and hit the bell to be notified of newly uploaded videos. Today we'll be going over how to varnish your paintings.
Now you may even be asking yourself, should I even varnish? Is it even worth the cost? How do I do it? What's the right way to do it? I'm looking at the price of varnishes, and man, they're expensive. Is it worth shelling out all that money? And there's a couple of questions you need to ask yourself before you start varnishing. The first and most important question is to ask yourself is it going to be an archival piece? Meaning, are you planning on keeping this painting or selling it? If it's just a practice painting, then there's no need to varnish it, because varnishing a painting basically seals in the paint, puts a protective layer over it so that it stands the test of time. Now, no matter which brand of varnish you buy, there's basically going to be three different types. There's going to be matte, which is the dullest and the roughest looking varnish. Then you'll have satin, which is kind of the middle ground, has a little bit of sheen to it. And then the highest reflective will be gloss, and it'll be the smoothest out of the three varnishes. Now, out of these three, one is not better than the other. It just all depends on the type of look you're trying to give for your painting. Maybe you want it more flat, maybe you want it to look more glossy. It just all depends on what you want your painting to look like and be sealed.
Some items you will need is of course some varnish, spray on Clearcoat, an empty pot, and a sponge brush. We'll start with our spray on Clearcoat. Now this isn't 100% the way that you have to do it. This is just the way that I find works best for myself. After I've let 24 hours pass to let the paint thoroughly dry all the way through, I will then pick up my Krylon Clearcoat, and you'll see here that this is a varnish and is specifically non-yellowing and used for oils, acrylics, and watercolor. Of course, before using it, you want to read the back of directions for the best way to apply the clear coat. It gives how close you should be. You shouldn't be too far away or too close, because if you just start at the center and just go back and forth, you'll create hot spots. You actually want to start from one side and work all the way through. Start spraying and work all the way through. As you apply your clear coat, you want to make sure your can is thoroughly shaken up. It is currently raining outside, so that's why I'm doing this here on my back porch, and I'll just open the door to ventilate, because this can get a little stinky at times with this clear coat. So you'll see here I'll just start on one side and I start spraying off the canvas and come all the way through it and don't stop. Now we're doing a light mist. Once that first coat is completed, we'll let that dry thoroughly and we'll check back about 15 minutes later. I'll then gently check the canvas to make sure that it is dried all the way through. And then once it is, then I'll go ahead and start applying my second coat. Once our second layer of clear coat has thoroughly dried, with about 15 minutes, we'll then be ready for our next step, which is the varnish. I'm using a Liquitech varnish, and it is a satin. There is matte, satin, and gloss. So satin is kind of the middle range there. I like it, it's not so bright on the gloss spectrum. Now on the bottle itself, there's no real directions on how to apply it. Some people pour the varnish directly on the canvas and then spread it around. Me personally, I like to put the varnish in an empty pot and then use my sponge brush to apply it to the canvas. This allows me to control the amount of varnish that is being applied to the canvas, so I don't have an excess amount. If you have an excess amount of varnish to an area, you could have a milky appearance, and it just messes up your painting. One thing to help you apply the varnish to the painting is have a light set up on the side, and you can look at your canvas at eye level when you're applying your varnish, and you can see the shininess of where you've been and where you haven't been yet. Especially when you've covered the entirety of the canvas, you can get down about eye level and you can see areas where it just didn't quite cover exactly. So when you're working your varnish on your canvas, you want to make sure not to work too much in one area and overwork it and go back and forth and just staying in one spot. You can cause a milky appearance, or you can cause the paint to lift up off the canvas and then blur your colors together, which is never a good thing. But applying it lightly, looking from the side and seeing which areas, like say here and here, you can't tell from your perspective, but getting down eye level, you can tell that I've missed some areas or just didn't cover it as precisely as it needs to be. And so we can come back over those areas so we can get a nice even coat of varnish. And then to make just one final check, we'll get down about eye level and we'll pan, we'll see some spots that we've missed here and right through here, and we'll go back over them. Making sure you get everything evenly the first time is going to help your varnishing process look a lot smoother. Now once you got the face of the canvas completed with varnish, go ahead and make sure you hit all four edges of your canvas with varnish as well, so it looks seamless all the way around. Now after we waited an hour for this to dry, come back and check everything, make sure everything is nice and dry. I believe it's recommended for a 24-hour drying period, but I never feel I have to wait that long, because within an hour's time everything feels dry to me. And I'll turn the light back on, just double check everything, make sure everything's thoroughly dried. Drying times could be affected by ambient temperatures also, so keep that in mind depending on where you are and what your climate is. But after it's dry, we'll go ahead and set it up for the same process as the first time and varnish a second time. Now for this painting, I ended up doing 3 coats of varnish to it because I felt the second coat wasn't adequate enough. So that's just going to leave that up to you as far as what you feel is best. Anywhere from 2 to 3 coats is going to be just fine. Now as far as how much the varnish can last, or how far it can take you, I've done 2 paintings of this size of 18 by 20 and then 2 paintings that are a 2 foot by 3 foot, and I've only used about half this bottle so far. So, and for this is $17 for this bottle, so I can figure I can get about 8 or 10 paintings or so per bottle about this size. Now I will make note that when you do a varnish, you want to make sure you get your picture of your painting before you do your varnish, because if you see here on this before and after, on the after side of it you can't really make out the details because of the light reflecting on it because of the varnish. So make sure you get your pictures of your paintings before you varnish.